All right, you guys, hopefully you've been enjoying the Vegas trip so far. Welcome back to the channel. Behind me is Jonathan's FD RX7. I couldn't leave Vegas only shooting Euro cars, only shooting German cars. Of course, the last time I was in Vegas, I was hanging out with Steve and his single turbo NSX. That car's not on the road. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it out here today, but yeah, his buddy Jonathan was kind enough to bring out his FD RX7. Let's go for a drive.
My name's John. This is my 1994 Mazda RX-7. I bought this about 13 years ago. I was stationed in Atsugi, Japan in the Navy, and I had just get rid of all my cars, and right before I went out there, and I had the itch again, so I needed another rotary. I went on the forums back then, and I bought it sight unseen. I was on deployment on the ship actually, and called my bank up. I said send the check to this guy, and I had a friend pick it up. So I had a 1987 Mazda RX-7 Turbo 2, and before that I had a 1988 RX-7 GXL, so a non-turbo. So this will be my third RX-7.
Which generation do you like best?
It's got to be the third gen. Got to be the FD.
Yeah, first things first, this is not an OEM Mazda color, is it?
No. So a lot of people mistake it for the new Mazda Soul Red that come on like the CX-5s, the Mazda 3s. This is actually a house of color 4-stage candy apple red. So there's a silver base underneath of this, and then the red and the candy coat on top. So
yeah, it looks a little bit more gold orange than the Soul Red.
Yeah, whenever the light hits it, it has a little bit of gold right here. You can kind of see it right here in the fender.
Such good power. I'm hoping you'll be able to hear me over the drone. FDs are generally droney. It's got a huge MagnaFlow muffler on here. John's got an interesting story because he was one of the first to bring in an R32 GTR into North America, and he just so happened to be stationed in Japan at the time they were becoming legal, and he was able to dip his hands into the glorious pond of JDM goodness that we all know and love. This car is crazy though. I love the color and little custom bits like these louvers in the hood are so cool. Of course, the Amemiya kit on here, and then he's got a couple other pieces on here. Huge diffuser in the rear as well, just ridiculous. But this is a driver's car, and you know, it's a car that, a rare breed of cars that's able to drive the way it drives, and the way it can handle it. It doesn't rub, and it's got a really meaty, sticky tire setup. But at the same time, you can bring it to a show, and you can have the appreciation and of the aesthetics, like I was mentioning, the hood and everything else in the fitment, but still have a car that drives. Not every car, especially out here in Vegas, sorry for my yelling, has to be a SEMA car. SEMA is a great thing, but I feel like it's also brought out the absolute worst in car culture, in certain pockets of that show. I've never been to the show, but just looking at the media and whatnot, and after talking to John, I need to go to SEMA. I feel like that's kind of a rite of passage here. So yeah, stock turbos, twin turbos still, not sequential though. It's gone to a parallel setup, of course, so they both spool at the same time, and it feels very similar to a single turbo. This is, you know, it is OEM plus in the way that the engine's been done. Apexy Power FC Commander down here, of course. We're running about 1.1 bar, about 16, 17 pounds of boost. Fits so nicely. Can we pop the hood?
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, so with this hood, actually, before I pop it, this is actually an OE hood that I had custom made with hot rod louvers. So there's a shop here in Las Vegas called SoCal Speed Shop. They work on a bunch of hot rods and everything, and I saw this on another car on Jay Leno's garage. I think it was like a FRS, and this guy had louvers all over it, and I was like, damn, I like that. So instead of going with like a carbon vented hood and everything, I kind of just made my own. So
it looks unreal. It looks really cool. I've never seen anything like that.
Yes, and it is still rotary.
The question, okay, people can leave now. They figured it out. They're okay. There's not going to be any spam comments going on.
Right. So I wanted to kind of keep it a little old school with how old school tuning was. But so I have a street ported, mild street ported engine. Garage Life in California, they tuned it. He did a street tune, came out to Vegas, tuned a bunch of cars for us, and I did a street tune that was very, reliable, more reliable instead of the power side. So it is still fun to drive. I'm only probably in the mid 300s, and I kind of like the front mount intercooler old school look, instead of like the new V mount look. So yeah. And this is a car I can get in, literally just fire it up, and it keeps going. So it's kind of like that oxymoron of rotaries not being able to run. So it's proof.
Of course, being a left-hand drive car, and I actually didn't really know this or hadn't noticed this before, but there's no rear seats in any of the left-hand drive cars. All of the JDM cars, as far as I know, the ones that I've seen, actually have rear seats. They're not usable, but these ones have cool storage pockets behind the seats, kind of similar actually to what you would see in an SW20 MR2. Back there, tons of storage space, but it does feel just like an incredibly smooth single turbo. God, the B&M style short shifter here, really short, really notchy. I mean, even in stock form, the FD has such a tight feel to it. Alright. The instinct in a car like this, and an RB26, is to just immediately take out the twins and go for a single, but you can make the twins work, and I've experienced amazing twin turbo setups in both RB26 cars and FD cars. John does have plans to go single turbo, paint the engine bay, go all black with that, and go to a Haltech ECU. But for now, the staple of the 90s Japanese world, the FC Commander, of course, doing its job, putting in work. Even little things in this car, like the original seats have held up amazing. I thought these may have been reupholstered or something, but they're not. And simple things, like being able to slide the manual seats forward and back smoothly and not have this, botched setup where it gets stuck in between the clicks and you can't get it right and it feels like it's falling apart. Some OEM stuff is better left OEM. Surprise, surprise,
These naturally are bolted on or riveted on. The body shop actually did a great job by molding it in and then used the factory fuel door to extend it out to the actual kit. So they made it a little bit flush. Other than that, it's a stock rear bumper. We have APR 300 series wing, and then I have a Galvez Customs in New Jersey actually custom made this rear diffuser. That's all chassis mounted, and you'll see the same work in the front as well. So we have a Work Emotion CR 2-piece wheel, satin face with a gloss lip. It's an 18 by 9.5 in the front, 18 by 10.5 in the rear, 265s in the front with 35 series, and then 285, I'm sorry, in the rear. I always like road course track racing and autocross and things like that. So I built this car to actually track it. After the paint work got done, I said, well, I can't really mess this up. I mean, this is, it looks too pretty. The body shop, they did a great job. Exclusive Customs here in Las Vegas did it. So instead of tracking it, I actually put it in the car shows. So it just does car shows. I did track it one time and it was a lot of fun, but right now with how much these cars are in value, I kind of don't want to track it anymore. So it was just kind of like a one and done now. So
yeah, it's a bit of a catch-22 with these cars.
yeah, absolutely.
But of course, John has his other car for SEMA, and this is the driver. Wow, this thing is phenomenal. No warped rotors, no wheels unbalanced, no rubbing, sticky tires. It's just a very well-rounded car, and he's kind of left no stone unturned here. But let me tell you, they're so well worth it. As these values go up, I begin to ask myself, are they still worth it? Because I did drive them, 6-7 years ago before they blew up. And my answer is yes.
Well, actually, when I first moved back to the States, to Vegas from Japan, this was actually my daily driver. That was, pre-marriage, pre-kids and everything like that. Nowadays, I got 2 kids and a wife. Shout out to them for, supporting all my car habits because they're car fans as well. So the car does sit a lot, but I do have a second car, a 32 GTR at the home. So that one has a little bit more space with the family. So we'll take that out a little bit more. I joined the military back in 2009, and not many times you can actually say joining the military, say, have a actually goal and go through with it. But the one thing that I said is that if I join the military, I'm going to Japan. And right out of A school, I got to choose orders, and they gave me Japan, and that was check mark 1. When I went to Japan, I said, now I got to buy a GTR. That was check mark 2. So I actually originally bought a AE86, and I had that for a few months, and I said, this is not a GTR. So
no, it is not.
I ended up just selling that, and I found my my 32 through auction, and before everything was legal, and I got it back in 2013. It was a different experience being able to go over there and actually buy it there and drive it there. So I was blessed to have that. Yeah. Out in Japan, it's a different feeling. Even though you're on these tight streets, these silk smooth roads, over there it's like a culture shock. Everything you've seen on TV and movies and anime and things like that, you actually get to feel it, while you're there on the road, and it's amazing. It's like no other feeling, being able to drive your own car on those streets in Japan. You'll see rock chips on both cars and everything. I drive these cars. I don't baby these. I don't, they sit in the garage because of time, So I don't have enough time to drive them, but when I do, I love it.
Yeah.
So.
All right, you guys. Well, that wraps up my trip to Vegas. It's been amazing. Thank you so much to iRose Motorsport for making it happen and for tossing me the keys to the new 8Y RS3 for one more day so I can meet up here with John and go for a drive. It's great to see a car like this that actually drives and could go, of course, to shows, but also at the same time be driven without much compromise and actually work as intended from the factory, which John was kind of going for. And I love that because, as we know, Vegas is a very unforgiving city, and that kind of fits the theme of the build here. It's meant to take on whatever road comes at it, and I think he's done a great job with it. So thanks again, John. Thanks for coming out.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope to see you again.
Yeah.
And yeah, hopefully I can see more of Vegas next time. You can show me around.
I'll bring you the other car.
Absolutely. Let's go. Let's rip. All right, you guys, you can check out John on Instagram, of course. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit me up on Instagram. We'll see you very soon.